In 1947, after enduring 2 centuries of British colonial rule, India finally gained its long-awaited independence. However, the departure of the British from the subcontinent came at a great cost, one that would shape the history of the region for generations. The British left behind a divided India, creating 2 separate nations, India and Pakistan. The division was based on religious lines, with Pakistan intended to serve as a homeland for Muslims, while India remained a secular country with a Hindu majority. But the partition process, rushed and haphazard, was poorly planned and executed. The new borders were drawn in haste, with little regard for the historical, cultural, or social realities of the people living in these regions. This led to immense confusion, chaos, and tragically, the displacement of millions of people. As a result, one of the largest and deadliest migrations in human history occurred. Hindus and Sikhs were forced to flee to India, while Muslims sought refuge in Pakistan. This mass movement of people was not peaceful. There were violent clashes, riots, and a bloodbath as families were torn apart. More than 1 million people lost their lives in the turmoil, and the violence set the stage for deep-rooted animosity and hatred between the newly formed nations of India and Pakistan. The scars of this painful past would go on to influence the politics, culture, and security of both countries for decades to come. Among the many complex issues that emerged from the partition, one of the most contentious was the region of Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir was a princely state at the time, with a predominantly Muslim population. However, its ruler, Maharaja Hari Singh, was a Hindu. As the partition unfolded, the Maharaja was caught in a dilemma. In the face of an advancing Pakistani army, he chose to accede to India, believing it was the best option for his state's security. Pakistan, however, vehemently rejected this decision, leading to the First Kashmir War in 1947-48. The war was intense and devastating, with both sides suffering heavy losses. The United Nations intervened in 1949, bringing about a ceasefire, and Kashmir was divided, India controlling one part and Pakistan the other. However, both nations claimed the entire region, and the United Nations had initially called for a referendum to allow the people of Kashmir to decide their future. Unfortunately, this vote never took place, leaving the Kashmir issue unresolved and tensions between India and Pakistan simmering. By the mid-1960s, both India and Pakistan were under intense internal and external pressures. In Pakistan, President Ayub Khan, who had come to power through a military coup, was facing increasing opposition within the country. To maintain his grip on power and unify the nation, Ayub Khan turned to the Kashmir issue, hoping to rally the country around the cause. Meanwhile, in India, Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri was looking to assert India's strength, especially after the humiliating defeat in the 1962 Sino-Indian War with China. The backdrop of the Cold War further complicated the situation, with Pakistan receiving military aid and support from the United States, while India aligned more closely with the Soviet Union. The Kashmir conflict had now become entangled in the larger geopolitical rivalry between the US and the Soviet Union, making it even more complex and dangerous. The situation came to a head in August 1965 when Pakistan launched Operation Gibraltar, sending forces into the disputed Kashmir region to provoke an uprising against Indian rule. Pakistan's goal was to incite local Kashmiris to rise up against India and join Pakistan, but the plan quickly unraveled. Indian forces, well prepared for such an eventuality, swiftly countered the invasion. The conflict soon escalated into full-scale war, with both countries mobilizing their forces along the line of control in Kashmir. At this point, both India and Pakistan had formidable military capabilities. Pakistan had an army of about 260,000 soldiers, equipped with modern American-made tanks and aircraft, while India, with its much larger army of 700,000 troops, was better prepared for a long conflict, relying on older but battle-tested military equipment. The war intensified as both sides engaged in brutal battles for control over key areas in Kashmir. One of the earliest engagements was in the towns of Poonch and Kargil, where Indian forces pushed back Pakistani troops. As the war escalated, Pakistan launched Operation Grand Slam in an attempt to capture the strategic Aknor Bridge, which connected Kashmir to the rest of India. However, India fought back fiercely, opening new fronts in Punjab and pushing towards Lahore, Pakistan's second-largest city. The conflict soon spread beyond Kashmir, with significant battles taking place in the deserts of Rajasthan and along the borders of both countries. The war also saw intense tank battles, with both sides fielding powerful armored divisions. The Battle of Asal Uttar, fought between September 8 and 10, 1965, was a turning point in the conflict. Pakistan's Patton tanks clashed with India's Centurion and Sherman tanks, but India emerged victorious, destroying dozens of Pakistani tanks. The Battle of Philora, which took place on September 11th, saw India destroy 28 Pakistani tanks while losing just one of its own, a significant blow to Pakistan's military. These tank battles were pivotal, showcasing the intensity of the conflict and the determination of both sides. Meanwhile, the air war added another layer of complexity. Both India and Pakistan engaged in bombing campaigns against each other's military bases, while air battles between MiG-21S, Hawker Hunters, and Pakistani aircraft raged above the front lines. On the naval front, Pakistan launched Operation Dwarka in an attempt to destroy an Indian radar station on the western coast. Though Pakistan claimed success, India downplayed the damage, and its navy quickly intensified patrols to defend against further attacks. Despite the mounting casualties and the prolonged conflict, international pressure began to mount. Both the United States and the Soviet Union, despite their Cold War rivalry, expressed concern over the escalating conflict. The United Nations called for a ceasefire, and by September 23, 1965, a ceasefire was agreed upon. Both sides returned to their pre-war positions, and the Tashkent Agreement, brokered by the Soviet Union in January 1966, saw India and Pakistan agree to pull back their forces and initiate diplomatic talks. However, the core issue of Kashmir remained unresolved, with both countries continuing to claim the region. The war left deep scars, with thousands of soldiers and civilians dead and wounded, hundreds of tanks destroyed, and the economies of both nations severely strained. The Kashmir issue, though temporarily sidelined by the ceasefire, remained a major point of contention between the two nations. Even today, decades later, the conflict over Kashmir continues to be one of the most dangerous and unresolved territorial disputes in the world. At Trend and Time, we delve deep into the untold stories of history that have shaped our world. If you found this exploration of the 1965 India-Pakistan War insightful, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon to stay updated on our latest videos that take you through the hidden chapters of history. Don't miss out on future stories that reveal the struggles, triumphs, and complexities that have shaped nations.